President Trump weighing in on a new NFL policy requiring players to stand during the national anthem if they are on the field or they face a fine.
I think that's good. I don't think people should be staying in locker rooms, but still, I think it's good. You have to stand proudly for the national anthem. Well, you shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be there. Maybe you shouldn't be in the country. You have to stand proudly for the national anthem. I think the people pushed it forward. This country is very smart. We have very smart people. And, you know, that's something ideally could have been taken care of when it first started. It would have been a lot easier. But if they did that, they're doing the right thing.
Joining us now is George Martin, the former president of the NFL Players Association, a giant great. It's good to see you, sir.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank God. George, if you don't want to stand for the anthem, get the hell out. Get out of the league. Get out of the country. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it goes against our whole principle of the Constitution, and I think the forefathers, as they framed it, gave us the right to stand up and protest, and that's something that should not be challenged and shouldn't be short-circuited. I don't think that you can mandate or you can require someone to be patriotic. It is either in them or not, and I somewhat disagree with the premise. Although having played 14 years in the NFL, I always stood for and stood proudly for the anthem, and my dad served in World War II, and I respect the American flag, but at the same time, I respect our right to protest.
So you got a lot of things coming together at once, right? Some of the men who don't stand say they're doing it as an act of patriotism, that they are speaking out about issues that matter to them as part of their democratic right and First Amendment right. Then you have the flip side, which is the league is a private concession. They can make their own rules, and this will be one of them. What do you think of that?
Well, I think there's a conflict there, and I think they have the right to make those rules. And I think we have the right to either adhere to them or not. And I think that our right supersedes theirs. And we can face the consequences as a result of that. But one thing I want to make clear, Chris, almost from the inception, the narrative of this protest has been hijacked and hijacked quite successfully. It was never intended to be a challenge of the anthem. It was intended to call the plight of African Americans being mistreated in society. That was the narrative. And somehow it's been successfully hijacked. And I think that's a travesty in and of itself.
Well, we've heard that from many people who engage in the protests, that they're not disrespecting the flag. They're saying the flag is being disrespected, and they're taking that moment during the anthem to express that. However, the politics of it have played to the point that we just saw in the president. And we're going to hear about this during the midterms. You know, it'll be football season, of course, as we're coming up to the election day in November. We're going to hear about this and see its effects every Sunday. This rule was not done in consultation with the players. Was that intentional? Was that wrong?
Well, I think it was quite intentional, and I think you see the reaction from the NFL Players Association that they're quite upset about that, and rightly so. I think without having any buy-in from the players' side was misguided, and I think they should go back and look at it, and it should have been something that was done with both sides considered.
The Jets. Chris Johnson, Woody Johnson's brother. Woody Johnson obviously working for the administration right now as the ambassador to Britain. His brother's running the team and says, I will cover all fines in this regard. Do you think every team should do that?
Well, I think that would be a great gesture, and I think it would be something that would be appropriate, even though the ruling that came down was supposed to be unanimous by all 32 teams. We know that initially there was some dissent among owners, so I don't think that all of them have been on board, and I guess given Johnson's current status, that shows that a lot of people did not agree with that unanimous consent. So I support that wholeheartedly.
George Martin, always a pleasure. Thank you for the perspective.
Chris, good run on a new day, and the very best to you in the future.
Appreciate it, big brother. Thank you very much.